Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Hotline League. It is finals edition because we are heading into the LTA North, formerly known as LCS, finals happening this weekend. Very exciting to be here. We had some upsets that happened. The thing that confuses me the most, Cubby, is that the social media keeps saying that the LTA finals are this weekend. But this weekend, I tuned in yesterday, and I thought that the finals were already over because I saw our North American mid laner lift a trophy. So I'm a little confused. I thought that it's done. Now we get to go to MSI. Jojo's returning. It's been a little bit. So can you help me with this, Cubby?
I fear that I wished for Jojo at an international tournament, and I might have monkey pawed something. Because he's doing it with a team that he owns over there in EU. He did some charity work over there, and gave back.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
so this is an EU thing.
He owns the French.
Yep.
He owns the other Spanish team, aka Fnatic, I suppose, if you want to call them that. I don't know. It feels like pseudo Spanish at that point. It's that's debatable at that point. He owns G2. He owns a lot of people. He owns Caps. By the way, Father's Day is coming up soon, and he started celebrating early. So, yeah.
Capston? Like gifting his father?
No. Well, yeah, you could say that. But I feel like it's a bonding experience sometimes between father and son. So he celebrated basically having a son.
Gotcha.
Multiple sons. All illegitimate, of course.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on. Cubby, before we introduce our guest for the evening, who's already, said a couple of faux pas. Cubby, how you been? What's going on in your world?
Not bad. I had 3 chaotic weeks. It was nice to have this one be a little bit quieter. NACL wrapped up, and for LPL, I have a gap in terms of casts. I'll be on for this upcoming week for the second to last and then last matches. So for finals. But yeah, so I've actually been able to enjoy a lot of the league as a fan. And that was really fun to do this past weekend because there was some great League of Legends on this weekend. It's like one of the 2 times a year where personally as a fan, my favorite times of the year are when all the domestic leagues decide who goes international. And that's what's going on right now. It's been very fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to be joining you here. I'm a little sunburned. From a trip that I took to Mexico, courtesy of, and I'm going to edit a little vlog together that talks a little bit about it. But I mentioned this, I think, last week on stream, but there is a group that one of the owners is a big fan of esports and listens to Hotline League. And last year they reached out to me and said, "Hey, can we work with you a little bit? We want to figure something out." And they're a travel agency out of Nebraska named Enchanted Travel. You can go to enchantedtravel.com and check them out. And so we just did a fun little thing where they're like, "Hey, why don't you," I'm like, I travel a lot, mostly for work. And they said, "We'd love to send you on a vacation." So I just spent a couple days. I got back on Saturday, but I spent a couple days in Mexico, which was really, really nice. So thank you to Enchanted Travel. We'll do a video that I'll showcase a little bit later on another episode. But that was the kind of fun thing I got to go on this past week. And then did some Summer Game Fest stuff and did a big event at 100 Thieves last night. We had a whole bunch of people come out for the event. I'm pretty sure Cubby RSVP did not show up.
Not only did I RSVP and not show up, I also did Venmo you 45 for the cards.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
I did.
Then I will get you those.
I tried to make up for it that way. I was KO'd yesterday. I might be fighting through something a little bit, but yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
No, it's fine. I figured that I was busy for 3 weeks. We'll play it safe. And I'll just throw in the Venmo. But I hope that was fun. I wanted to go because it was Final Fantasy, which I'm not super into, but kind of. I know it's a really good set.
Yeah. No, a lot of people were saying, they're like, "Oh, even if I'm not the biggest fan in Final Fantasy, just seeing like video games represented in Magic is really fun." So yeah, I've had a great time doing it. But I do want to introduce our guest for the evening. It's none other than Raz. Oh, never mind. It's not Raz. Cubby has something he wants to say.
Chat's saying I have an echo going on. I'm not sure if you didn't mute me or if that's me. So I just want to check that real quick.
Somebody says, "Holy hell, the echo from Cubby is nuts."
It's been a few folks too.
Well, hopefully that solves it. Raz,
okay,
are you here? How's it going? Do you have an echo? Let's find out.
No, we're vibing. They said it was just basically only coming from Cubby, but I'm doing well. I just realized I was playing music the entire time. I was like, why am I hearing Busta Rhymes in the background? But yeah, no, I've been vibing. Of course, we went through some great games in the weekend. That was a lot of fun. We had a lot of great guests too. Just kind of going through them, like Licorice, Whippo, LS. He was co-streaming, but he hopped on for draft on the lounge. And even the week before that, we had Huhi. So like, we had a lot of great guests overall. That it's been fun to work through.
The LS stuff I think was particularly cool to see, just because obviously, a lot of and I'm happy that we have so many guests on this past week, but I think a lot of these folks are familiar faces to the studio. So seeing LS over here from Korea, he was also at my event last night, so I was talking to him a little bit. He was
nice.
He had several Black Lotuses with him and just carrying around. He's a mad lad. But it's been cool to see this past weekend's games, and not just the games, but as you said, like the broadcast. I think we talked a little bit about it last week, and I don't mean to harp on it again, but I saw some folks kind of pick up the conversation, which is the broadcast in particular, and like the stats team, the graphics team, all these folks have been, I think, really crushing it this year. And I think especially as we get into playoffs, it's been really nice to see. So
yeah, I think you mentioned the graphics a few times. That is very, very true. Working with stats, like Leo's already in the chat, has been probably the most positive I've had when it comes to having a stats person on the team, someone that we know, someone we can always like send messages to, and he'll, no matter what the request is, you'll always get it to us. And so it's been a lot of fun. So I think in terms of this year on the broadcast, it's been very positive.
Yeah. I think, I know there's always negativity these days around certain things with the LTA, and even myself have been critical of the brand stuff as of late and all that. But I think I never want that stuff to override how solid I think the product has become in and of itself. If anything, I bring those things up because I've been frustrated with how much they detract from an otherwise, huge improvement over the last couple of years in what the product looks like and how people get to watch it and all that stuff. So I am, I've just been really enjoying it. So, and that continues into playoffs. So, but yeah, Raz, we were talking before the start. You moved recently.
Yes. So, without having to dox myself, I moved in a situation where it's like larger space, which I like, cost less, which is always a positive. I'm moving in with roommates, which, I mean, it was pretty psychopathic to just be living alone in LA to begin with, and living in a place that's honestly like, if you're living like outside of LA, fine. But if you're living within LA and especially closer to the ocean, oh my God, the rent is ass. Yeah, I lived alone. And the funny thing is, the rent at the time was fine because it was the COVID cost. Like, I got my apartment when it had like a COVID discount, but then obviously that is gone, and so I'm just getting creamed. But it's now thankful that I've moved out. And one thing is, I've always hated the move out process. I think everyone does, obviously. Mm-hmm. But oh my God, I had 2 sleepless nights because I was like going through the whole boxing thing. And then you can already see some of the stuff over there, just some of it. And of course, reflected in the mirror, unfortunately. Like, I always hate having boxes just lying around. So I was trying to get them sorted as soon as possible. This room is like largely good. This room was like literally, this is where they put all the boxes. Every single one of the boxes. So I had to fucking just like swim through all the boxes and figure out which one's useful and which one isn't. So I'm about 99% done on my front, but if you go to the second floor, it's a catastrophe. So it's an ongoing battle.
That's rough. Well, I hate moving. I haven't moved in 7 years. I don't look forward to whenever I eventually have to move again, if that's in a year or 3 years or 17 years. But yeah. Speaking of that, by the way, before the start of the of the show, Raz, you brought it up. I did over on YouTube. I mention every now and then the YouTube memberships and some of the exclusive videos we got over there. But the most popular video I've ever released for YouTube members, I think, was this one that we did. We're pretty sure we released it last week. And it's me sitting down with Kobe and talking, and the two of us talking about living together for the past 7 years.
That's fun.
Yeah. So, and people seem to really like it. I got a lot of positive feedback from it, and so, I'm never gonna be like, here's a video on my YouTube channel for League of Legends fans. It's just the two of us talking about living together. Like, that's not particularly relevant to League fans, but for the people who, I always assume that the people who are throw down like $2.99 become a YouTube member will be interested, I guess, in the other aspects of my life or other fun things behind the scenes on the League side. So that video's up if anybody wants to go take a look at it. But
yeah, exactly. And I mean, you still have other content that's behind the membership tab.
Yeah.
But so it's always valuable. It's valuable for them to check it out if you want to be a member. But then when I see shit like the Toast interview and the Contracts interview, I'm like, get free that interview. Let the peasants watch it.
Yeah, the story in those situations is just they should be released, and then we end up, for whatever reason, Friday rolls around, it doesn't go out, and then it just ends up stuck. And so those are situations where I've like basically fucked up and not released the video. So
okay,
I'm happy that they're up for members, but yeah, I need to be. We're working on figuring that stuff out a little bit better. I part of the challenge is I took over doing the thumbnails for a bit, and that just slows down the process of getting stuff out. But
yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Somebody says Travis dementia. All right, whatever.
True. He's getting to that age, guys. He's getting to that age, or gotten to that age.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Numi just shared a link in the chat about Paris Fashion Week. So I don't know what's going on there, but she's also losing it. All right, let's talk about what happened this past weekend, because I know we've just been kind of going back and forth and having a good time. I do think, look, I know we never talk about LEC or other regions until there's international competition. However, the Jojo moment is historic. And Cubby, last week, I believe you and Surdy, who, by the way, was at last night's event, really fun. He pulled some really cool cards. But I think both of you told me that there was no chance that we were going to see Jojo in finals, and then certainly not at MSI. I think neither of you even thought he'd make it to finals when I asked you about it. So what happened?
Don't worry about it, Travis.
Yeah,
we were wrong.
Well, that I know.
I don't know. Those games, I will say EU, just covering LPL, as I'm sure Raz knows, like that region is ridiculous. Yeah, I did not watch a ton of EU. I tried to watch some Jojo games this split, but I really didn't watch a lot of EU. But man, from what I saw, shout out to Alvaro. I know that this is a Jojo point, but I'm actually really excited to see him go to MSI. He's playing fantastic League right now as a support. I feel like he was a huge part of the reason why Mad Lions Koi were winning. And just to see Jojo be able to win himself after, obviously, how things ended in NA, like, I kind of left a bad taste in, I think, everyone's mouth. I felt really bad for Jojo because I feel like Jojo got bullied out. I've never really seen anything happen to the likes of something gets leaked about him, and I just know that he had a giant contract, and obviously that contract like went to the side. The way that he got pushed out, I just felt like it was really weird to have that against a player, and then to have said player go overseas, and to have him be someone that was supposed to be a star player that a team felt like couldn't get the most out of him because he wasn't performing behind the scenes to the expectations that someone should have when they're being compensated that way.
Yeah.
Have him then go over to Europe and do that within 6 months is pretty cool. And to do it in a way where I feel like Jojo was just playing like authentically himself. Like you tell me, as someone that's watched Jojo since he was, 15, 16, that he's first timing picks on stage because he feels like it's good, and then also just playing his Ari and Yone to like a really high level. I'm not surprised at all. So I think the way that he did it was fun for me. I think he really got to shut a lot of people up, and Yeah, to be an NA player to go over and win EU is pretty awesome. So congrats to Jojo.
It was like the biggest risk and reward you could go for. Because the risk is you go to Europe, which is good, definitely going to be a little bit more competitive as a pool, like for mid laners. And Europe already just thinks you're dog shit for being from North America. So like a lot of the European fans probably don't even want you. And then the expectation is you do well there, or what? Like the embarrassment happens and it come back to North America. Do you even have a spot? Like these are all risks that can come up from it. The ward is obviously you are in front of one of the largest fan bases in Europe, the Spanish fan base, like with a buy. And if it pays off, holy shit, you are a superstar.
Yeah, you're the man.
Yeah, you are the GOAT. And the Spanish fans fucking love you. Your brand will go through the chart. Obviously, if you're on K Corp, it's different. But like being there and being that guy and obviously exceeding expectation by winning a championship, that's insane. So for Jojo, his stock is only rising. And he comes to he goes, back to North America for an international and he gets to prove that he's worth the money. I don't know if he was still on that dime when he went to Koi, but
I don't think so.
Yeah. But like now he's proven that he is still really fucking good. Obviously, the team is great, and Alioya specifically is amazing.
Yeah, it's playing really good.
And Supa and Alvaro, yes, all of them. I'm not saying Mirwin's lame. It's funny that Mirwin in the winner's interview is like, NA is fucking shit, as he was getting completely giga shit on by Kana, by the way. Like, completely shit on by Kana. But yeah, here we are.
Agree.
Well, I think in last week's episode when I asked you, is there a chance that JoJo's going to make it? And no. I said, but wouldn't it be great if he could go? Because then it would be even more hilarious if somehow Team Liquid ended up going and like you could get the APA JoJo rivalry again and all that stuff. Unfortunately, Team Liquid is now eliminated from playoffs, which I think is going to be, I'm sure we'll get a couple calls about tonight. But what if C9 goes? And you get JoJo versus C9. I think it's unlikely because I think we all know FlyQuest is like the heavy favorite, but wow, wouldn't that be great?
That would be funny.
Crazy that JoJo beat C9 there. I feel like half the issue is that he was always late to stuff,
Jesus. That is funny. I will say, it is great that we get to have 2 NA spots for Worlds, or not Worlds, for MSI. So I'm down for
true.
That.
Well, I saw that Reddit comment that said we're sharing yours. I thought that was pretty good. Whatever. I'm not gonna make that joke. Okay, so let's we're gonna talk about that. What other stuff has happened in the past week that I'm forgetting? I guess I don't know if it's even worth it at this point in time to have a conversation about Inspired MVP, but that is a thing that we could talk about.
Do we expect anything else this split?
Yeah, there was a small correction, I guess. Small correction where Thanatos was apparently top 3 for MVP vote getters. That was kind of revealed on the broadcast, but I don't know.
Okay.
I think that conversation is passed as well.
Yeah. So. I had Thanatos in my MVP votes. So yeah, I'm glad he got a shout. I think he should have.
That's Sven. I think it's just
really.
Okay. Yeah. So here's my thing on MVP votes. I fucking hate when people go crazy about this person is the most valuable to the team, to the point where I always think the spirit of the vote is who's the best player in the league. I don't give a shit if someone's valuable to an awful team or to a mid-tier team or something. I care if they are just the best performing player in the league. And I think when you go to a tiebreaker on that front, then you can be like, okay, this guy's more valuable.
Yeah.
So when I saw Inspired's vote and he had Fudge as second for MVP, and I'm like, bro, you didn't even have him in top 3 of your All-Pro. I don't see how that ever happens. So for me, to go into my vote, I had Sven as second, and then I had Whippo's third. And a lot of it was I thought the gap between Sven and the second and third was decent. I thought he had a really good, consistent split, and I thought it was good to shout out. I think if you're MVP, you're probably going to be first team All-Pro, is my perception. So,
another thing we can talk about is on Tuesday, so the day after Hotline League last week, they announced that the LTA Championship is heading to Texas. I think.
Oh yeah.
I the timing of the announcement is really weird to me, because I'm like, they waited a while and then announced it like right before Split 2 finals, which I think is going to be confusing to some people, but whatever. Anyway, so I'm happy that we're getting Roadshow, that it's not in Los Angeles. Obviously I think the Texas events have been really cool in the past, so I think this one will be really cool. And I don't know if anybody wants to call in about it. I know we always have conversations going on actively about roadshows, so maybe some people are excited about it going to Texas. Maybe some people aren't. Maybe they have opinions about the venue. We can talk about all that stuff if anybody has any thoughts on it. But that is something that got announced in the past week. So
true.
Trying to think if there is anything else. I mean, other than that, hey, it's this weekend.
True. It's like the sub. I mean, we talked about Team Liquid, but like they just use UG the entire time. Like the idea of a 6-man just didn't really exist, like at all. So you probably hit on that as well.
Yeah, I think last week I said that I was pretty sure they were just done. Like there was a rumor going around that they were just done with Umpty, and Sardi was like, I think that was just for us, but like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like Umpty was around for this one, so we'll see what ends up happening. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what happens there, but yeah.
But other than that, this weekend we have some matches that will determine who's going to MSI. Shopify, C9, one of them will face Fly. We'll see how things go on Sunday, but I think that can be a huge part of this call this weekend. What was it? The person that called in last week that's like, Shopify is number one and they're going to make it and blah, blah, blah. And
if they want to come back, they can,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm always down for gloating calls, especially with Raz here, who said he can be louder in his new setup.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Well, while we're getting calls pulled into the waiting room, I do want to give a shout out to NZXT for sponsoring the show. They've been fantastic. We're going to talk more about them later on in the episode. The other thing I wanted to mention that is, I just want to address something. I will not be at LTA finals this weekend. I will be following along. I'm very excited about what's happening, and I will be covering it on Hotline League next week. But there is something I am doing with an LTA team, which is it was announced on Tuesday that I've partnered up with FlyQuest to produce. I haven't done anything like this since Hotline League Live in terms of scale, but we're doing a giant event at the FlyQuest offices, a big 2-day tournament that's going to be happening called Dual Land, which is, I know that some people are going to be frustrated to hear this, but hopefully a lot of people will be excited about it. It's Dual Land, and it's a Magic the Gathering event around the new Final Fantasy set, where we've paired up a Magic creator and a gaming creator onto teams. So like Atrioc, for those that are familiar with him, and Jimmy Wong will be on a team. Jimmy Wong, a name that should be familiar to some League of Legends people. Broden Plett, my former video guy, who now is more famous than me, unfortunately, is teaming up with Talia Vess. So just tune into that this weekend whenever LTA is not on, if you're interested. I'm not going to try to tell anybody to watch it instead of LTA. But I think, you can always have two streams on if you wanted to. But I'll be on the couch a ton with Kibler, Brian Kibler, for those who know him. And I'll be running around a ton and doing both, helping to produce the team or produce the event with some other really talented folks that we're working with, but also doing some personality stuff throughout it too. So just want to give a big shout out to that, because it's really fun working on it. Numi's been helping out on some of it as well, because she is also with FlyQuest. So yeah, it'll be really cool. Either way, looks like Cubby's gone off to grab somebody, and yeah, thankfully people in the chat are not flaming me too much.
I thought he got immediately disinterested and left the chat. I thought that's what he did.
Oh yeah, he heard that and he's just pissed. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone protesting.
Yeah. Numi wants to be put on as host. I'm pretty sure she's working at LTA most of the time, so I don't know if that will be working. Ixbic says, Travis taking org money, Monka S. Yes. I guess that's the other thing I can address, is that, yeah, this is the first time in my career that I will be getting paid by an org. I went almost 14 years without doing it. Whenever we were talking about the event, it did not make sense for me to want to do this event. It was a lot of work, and I wouldn't be able to do it without getting compensated in some way. Also,
corruption.
Look, I think people have hopefully gone up to the idea that, one, I can still be critical of orgs even if I am doing work with them. If they feel like that spoils Hotline League, or I'm going to be super biased or something, I get it. But the bigger thing I think that people probably understand is like the financial state of the industry is quite tough, and so if I have the opportunity to work on a passion project that I can get compensated for, probably need to be able to take that. So yeah, I don't know. People want to send me angry messages, they can, but it's just sort of the reality of where we're at the moment. And honestly, I'm really excited to work with the FlyQuest team on it, because they've been fantastic about it, and they've been really passionate about the Magic stuff. So, well, we have our first caller of the evening here. It's J-Lo. J-Lo, where are you calling from?
Jennifer Lopez?
Not Jennifer Lopez, unfortunately. I'm calling from Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Are you going to be attending championships next, or in the next couple months?
I will be there no matter what, as a soccer player once said.
Fantastic. Well, what do you want to talk about on the show?
So my take is that Cloud9 will not win another title, and with Blaber as their jungler, and Shopify is going to beat Cloud9 this weekend. The reason I think Blaber is such an issue with Cloud9 is that his setups around objectives is usually very disjointed from his team, and it has been for like the past 3 years. And whenever Cloud9 in general is hitting objectives, if either he panics and completely gives up his positioning to try and steal the objective, and then sometimes he steals it, but then he like dies, and then the team loses the fight because of it, or he just turns too early and doesn't fight well. It's just around objectives. I just think he's not performing up to the level he needs to be to win a title, and I think this has been an issue for a while.
Oh my god. Okay, I'll just start. I think you're on crack. Look, it is. Look, I understand.
Raz is utilizing his new. He's not worried about getting a noise complaint in his new home.
It's starting. It starts with this one, so I actually really like the take. So Blaber is one of the best fucking junglers in the league for a very long time. He's been top 2, of course, to Inspired, but I think they have like slightly different playstyles, where Inspired is a lot more consistent. He'll take safer plays, but a lot of the times he's just making the smart ones. Blaber will take more risks, and sometimes the risks will fucking blow up in his face. But like, if you look at the 3rd and 4th and 5th best junglers in the league, Blaber is just so much better than them. Sometimes contracts will have amazing moments, but then if you look at those amazing moments, a lot of the times you'll just forget about the bad moments that he has. Like during the 100 Thieves series is another example of it. Like it's correct to be excited for a team, or like for instance in this case Shopify Rebellion, but then to wash away the feeling of all the negative issues from them. It's like, no, they're still there. There's a reason why they have like bad games or bad series, or why it took them this long to be together. But no, Blaber has been really fucking good. Now, that being said, does he make mistakes? Yes, he does. 100%. Like that game 5, like the fail flash over the wall, stuff like that. Like that's one example of many that you can talk of. Or the FlyQuest series that they had before playoffs, where like they got steamrolled. Like, yeah, you can definitely think of examples, but like that's when you're picking apart the negative aspects and not really looking at Blaber a lot of the times getting leads for his team, and why they look so fucking good this year in comparison to their last few. So I'm actually a big Blaber fan, and I think that if we chip at our best players because we have high expectations for them, then we need to also then look at the rest of the league and the competition, and Blaber a lot of the times eclipses the competition in the jungle.
What do you think of the sort of criticisms that he is just way too inconsistent, Raz? Because I saw this as a pretty big talking point over the weekend, where it's just like somehow you're kind of like spinning the wheel anytime a play has been made. And obviously this has been talked about for years, all the way back to like the crab stuff at MSI or whatever, but like that you'll have games where Blaber will seem like a god, and then the next moment he'll seem like a joker, and people make these jokes about caps and craps and all that stuff. But I mean, what do you think of that concern?
Whenever we hit on international topics, it always has to be compartmentalized, because almost all of our teams and players will look like shit when they go to international play. And then like the frustration that I have is that communities come out with the weird morphed opinions of those players that suddenly the teams that weren't good enough and the players that weren't good enough to get to that competition like should replace that X player, or like suddenly you hide that criticisms from those players. So it's really important to be even keel when you're assessing players' strengths.
Yeah,
like,
and
yes,
I'm not saying that
yeah.
that I'm talking about the international stuff so much, but even domestically,
Yeah.
like even this past weekend, right? Like there's moments
Of
where
course.
he just, I don't know, he seems so much more variable. And it's funny too because I think you were saying like you also have contracts who seems to be incredibly inconsistent in terms of his performance at times and all this stuff. So I don't know if it's just like
There was
a
one
juggler
person in
thing or
chat,
something, but yeah.
when I said he eclipsed all the other junglers, someone just like obviously strawman me and said inspired, but that's actually a good example here because like yeah, he looks inconsistent versus the best jungler, the MVP of the league. Like I think if we had more people that were as good as inspired or Blaber, and we had like a deep pool of junglers, then that could be an issue to look into. But like Blaber is a very smart jungler that will sometimes be inconsistent, and I think we look at that so much into a vacuum because he's on a top 2 team in the league, but he is still a top 2 jungler. And I was honestly at the end of this, when we were doing all pro votes, I was looking at Blaber's games a little bit more focused because obviously like, am I just going to hand it over to Inspired? And then I was like, yeah, because obviously you think about the Lion series. Like this is a harder split. There was an opportunity because of how janky the format was that C9 could have been in the lower bracket because of the Lion series. But no, all of this to come and say that Blaber is still a very good jungler. If you want to tell me that, he should be replaced or he is not good enough to win a championship, then you must give me another example of somebody that would be good in his position.
Okay, but
and also the other value is that he's a North American player, so then you can actually play imports around him. So if you want to say an import, well, guess what? He has Loki and Thanatos on that team. And I usually don't like that idea of like just bring an import. It's like, well, you can't afford the import that you are looking for.
Okay, Raz, what about the argument that like he can't? What if JLo had brought to you this take with Blaber will not be able, or C9 will not be able to win a trophy as long as Inspired is on FlyQuest? Because I think there's an argument you could make here, right? Which is like, okay, you yourself acknowledge, and we all acknowledge because he's MVP, that like Inspired is much more consistent, much stronger than Blaber as a player. And you could argue that perhaps this weekend, if they face off in the finals or something like that, like that difference between Inspired and Blaber is what will end up leading to a FlyQuest win.
I mean, they went to 5 games just last series. And also the 3-game series was like, yeah, that was awful. But then they were really fucking close. Yes, a lot of it was on Thanatos, but I do think they're a really good team overall. So I think it's an overreaction personally, because we're just comparing them to one team. In my opinion, we're just literally comparing them to one team, and any other team that we think about C9 going up against is like, of course, this caller thinks that Shopify will win. So this is actually, he's the exception. But I think most people would view this and say C9 should win, and that Contracts is a worse jungler than Blaber. I think that's like the more popular position.
Yeah. I will say though, like if there's any jungler that has kind of had Blaber's number that's been below him in the league, it will have been Contracts. I feel like that's a story that we've like hit in the past, right? And I think the interesting part, at least for me, from this fan's perspective, is kind of like what you're hitting at, Raz. If you do want to swap out Blaber, like C9 hasn't hit the results they've wanted in terms of going international and doing what they want to do in the region and their goals in a couple of years, and that's fair. But it's not like they haven't been close to that. And Blaber is the cornerstone of what C9 has really been, since that first batch of players left. Like he has been the consistent piece. So, I mean, if you're like, if you as a fan actually want to move on from Blaber, like let's take inventory of what C9 has been able to do with Blaber on the team. And if your solution or answer to, like, I don't agree with this, Travis, but like if it is, oh, we just can't win as long as Inspired's in the league, because I feel like there's a lot of other things that go on with C9. I mean, like Masu and Busio weren't players in the league like 4 years ago. FlyQuest have these two players, and they're really, really good, right? I think that this is one where C9, like, they did reach for talent elsewhere. I think that Thanatos, like, he was an MVP candidate. C9 developed him into that. Like, that's fantastic. And I think that Blaber and the pieces they have around, like, really help them do that. Can they do that with other players on the roster to do projects like this? I don't think so. And look, I'm someone that I said it'd be easier to replace Blaber than Jojo because looking at the mid pool versus the jungle pool in this region, I really felt like it's easy to change out for jungle and not for mid, right? I don't see a world where it's like, okay, like we have to move on from Blaber unless we want to entirely change the team identity, what we're doing and who we're building around. And for C9, I really don't see anyone like that on their roster at the moment, you know? Let's just say, like, for example, C9 decides they're going to hand Yon an absolute bag this next offseason and just be like, all right, this is Yon's team from here on out, which I don't think they'll do or like is a good idea. But I feel like that's the only world where you actually move on from Blaber because you're moving on from your cornerstone franchise player where even if you haven't done what you wanted to do internationally, think of the floor of this team compared to like everyone else in the league. That doesn't just happen because, oh, this is C9. That's happening because it's Blaber, right?
And,
so, yeah, I feel like that's the discussion you have to have.
And to make it clear, like 4-time champion, he is. Last time they won was not that long ago, 2023 summer. Like, and all of last year was the conversation about him and Jojo, and obviously they had a really good regular season and then tripped up one time in playoffs, 200 Thieves. Like, he is really fucking good, and I would have the literal opposite take. I think the moment C9 loses Blaber, they lose that legacy branding because he has been a North American top 2 jungler forever. And replacing that is not easy. It's very difficult. Finding someone to, like, a North American jungler to fit that hole, and then of course trying to build around that. Like, I think C9 has benefited greatly from somebody like him, and also somebody that is like unafraid to take fights, that is able to make snap call decisions. Like, stuff like that is very difficult to find. And I think the moment they lose him, they lose a lot of like.
Well, you're talking about this like they need some sort of North American player who can, not afraid to take fights.
Top 2 jungler.
Yeah.
Easily
well, I'm just
first
saying,
or
you're
second.
saying they have to be a jungler. What if they were like a mid laner? Like somebody who's demonstrated that they can win trophies, that they are not afraid of taking fights, that they can get themselves to international events. If we're saying Blaber is maybe it's harder for them. What if they chose somebody in the mid lane?
Yeah, now that I think about it, Travis, we're talking about the last C9 trophies. What about the one that they won in 21 spring, where they gave a lot of money to a mid laner from Europe that just won the last split? I think his name was, Perks.
Wait,
he wanted the AD, but he swapped
shit,
back.
that's so true.
Yeah.
So if we could find a mid laner in Europe who's native North American mid laner and is aggressive, not afraid to take fights, and could play for C9, then they could potentially have a replacement for that role that you're kind of talking about, Raz, which is like a North American player that's bold and aggressive.
So I agree that Cloud9's branding and Blaber are extremely strongly tied together. So from a maybe business perspective, it's really difficult to replace him. But I think Cloud9's roster building philosophy for 2 or 3 years has been blow everything up except for Blaber and then build around Blaber. And they've done that a couple of times. And they've always, this is kind of shitty math, but he's like the one thing that's remained constant while they've been in the sort of underperforming slump. So, for example, Cubby's idea of just build a team around Yon, for example. Obviously, Yon, I don't know how they would get Yon specifically, but or this idea of getting Jojo Jin back, which might be difficult as well. But just building around someone else, just trying to shake things up. I think Blaber is good at early game pathing and all this other stuff that junglers need to do. Whenever I watch Cloud9 fight around objectives recently, it feels like it's always a complete clusterfuck.
Yeah.
All right.
I do think it's funny because we have so few games, and it's like having the pool of games is really hard to work with. I would say in the beginning and middle portions of the split, their ability to play around objectives was probably the best or second best next to FlyQuest. I thought they were really fucking good. It was during the Lion series and onwards from that one where they started to be a little bit shaky. But once again, they then faced FlyQuest in their series, and then they looked kind of bad there. And then they went, really bad there. And then their first series, of course, they looked great in. And then their third series is FlyQuest. So like it was a FlyQuest sandwich. it was unironically a FlyQuest sandwich, a team that is just better than them currently. So I think the take that we have about them suffering around objectives is because FlyQuest is the better team, and maybe that changes from now until finals. But I think personally, I think it's an overreaction.
All right. Well, we'll see how things go. Thank you so much to J-Lo. I know you kind of brought up another topic, but if there was anything else you wanted to say here at the end before I give you your shout
out. Nope, nothing else for me.
Thanks but can I say that was a hot take, and we started with a hot ass take, so that's a positive.
Yeah.
Anything you want to shout out?
I do.
J-Lo, anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring you and the show. When you first partnered with them, I signed up for the trial, and it was pretty fun. Lost. I used the $5 to get 50, and then I have $0 at the moment, but that's okay.
Very, very good.
And shout out to Riot for coming to Texas for Roadshow.
Nice. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to you being able to attend. I think it's really fun that we're going to be outside of LA again. So thanks so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks.
All right. I think we're going to take another call before we take a quick sponsor break.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Cubby's being slow to pull people into the waiting room tonight. So if you have takes, feel free to go put them into the subtopics or pleb topics channel, because I know sometimes we get feedback from people that we pull too many in the beginning, and then folks feel like they can't get in, but we have space. So thank you to The Rock and Slug for becoming members over on YouTube. And then thank you to Swede, hope you're doing well. Good to see you again. Gifting a sub to Raz, Jaffe for the 51 months, Killer of Heroes for the Prime, and Magnarius for the 12 months, and then Papyror as well. Also, Magnarius, sorry, for the 34 months, and then Papyror for the 51. So thanks, everybody, for all the subs and memberships. We have Antoniopizza here. Antoniopizza, where are you calling from?
Denver, Colorado.
Denver, Colorado. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, so my take is that the SR run is simultaneously like the best or like most fun thing to watch happen in NA since the NRG run in 2023, even more so than the FlyQuest run. And like alongside that, also a great example of how stupid it is that NA is only getting one team at MSI this year. It accomplishes both of those things at the same time. I obviously think the FlyQuest run last year was really fun, but if they had won, it would have been, I think, like unarguably the best NA story in the last 2 years. But I think like the fact that it's in region, it's a really like non-established team. It's a mix of like unknown players with players that have been around a while. Like I think it's just been so fun to watch this run happen. It's like been a lot of different factors that make it really interesting, and like it's been something I didn't watch a ton Split 1 because it was just kind of boring and I had a lot of life stuff going on, but like I've been really interested just watching this SR run. I think it's been really cool, and I don't know if I think SR win tomorrow, but it kind of doesn't matter to me because I'm more interested in SR versus C9 than TL versus C9, like, and I think that is just interesting to me. I think it's not something I would say every year, but I think the run has been super cool. And then the second part of it is just like this match on Saturday would be so much cooler if two teams were going to MSI, because we get like C9 fighting for their lives against this team that's surging up into the third place spot. Like SR might go to their first international event. Like it's such a different vibe than just like, oh, somebody's going to win and then they're probably just going to get run over by FlyQuest.
Are you saying that two teams going to EWC is not the same fan motivation for you as two teams going to MSI?
Is NA sending two teams to EWC?
Yeah. Everything, yeah, the regions are sending two.
I would say,
my god, that's nauseating.
I would say I probably will not be watching that event.
Okay, that's fine. I am somewhat genuinely like it was kind of a joke.
No, yeah. I mean,
I'm also curious.
I think it's fine if people enjoy, and like I watched some of it
Yeah.
last year, but like MSI is the Riot event, you know.
That's
like,
fine. I'm just okay. This is is it pretty much you just want to see this for the run? It's no like gameplay thing. You're here for the story, right?
Kind of. I mean, I think the way SR has played is really interesting, and like I think
Okay.
like Palafox being really bad for a while, or at least seeming really bad, and then having like a huge glow up lately. Like I'm a big Palafox fan from the NRG days, and so like and CLG, so like I have some connection to it anyways, and like I think it's cool that Fudge is playing really well after getting passed on. Like I just think there are some gameplay things I like. I don't really care that they play slow sometimes or most of the time. That's not really the important thing to me. I just think like the run of the team and the way that they've been able to kind of prove themselves as better than anybody really would have thought is really neat, and has not happened since NRG in 2023, and is I was thinking about this in a different era of League. It might have been a bigger story, but it just feels like it hasn't gotten the traction of some of the other teams in the past.
Okay, sorry. I this is the first time I'm learning of this, and I don't want to derail us for a second, but like
he's derailing. Here
it comes.
We're sending North America says 2 teams. There are 2 slots for fucking EWC, but there's not 2 slots for MSI.
Yeah.
We do not care.
Are there more teams going to EWC than there are going to MSI?
No, they're just not sending a team from LTA South, I'm pretty sure. Wait. They're sending one. They're sending one. Actually, I lied to that one.
So are there... Okay, LTA South gets 1 team. So are there more teams attending EWC than there are MSI?
Yeah, it looks like it. It says 3 teams from Americas, so there has to be 1 from the South and 2 from the North.
It is fucking so crazy to me because it's just so bold face, like it's so funny to me that Riot will be like, we care so much about fucking this oversaturation of international events and matches and all this shit, and then there's a bigger international event happening literally the week after MSI. Isn't this the week after? Like I thought when we looked this up, I've been trying to ignore. I do my best to ignore everything EWC because it's just whatever. But like, if I remember correctly, this takes place like a week after, 10 days after, or something.
It looks like it.
Like, how is this not so fucking antithetical to the whole way in which they want to run their international experience? To have they're like, oh no, we don't want to add more international events because that would overcrowd the schedule and it would diminish the stuff. You're going to run MSI and then you're just going to run a bigger version of MSI right after. They're not running it. I know there's a government that's running it, but like, that's so crazy. That's so crazy.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
So,
well,
Travis,
I'm gonna continue to melt down, but back to the caller's take.
I mean, caller, I do think that the run is fun, right? I think the fact they took down TL, like SR, what we said in the last episode, SR like finally was able to eclipse, right? We had a very clear top 3 teams or top 4 teams in the past 2 years of the league, right? And SR, they had a roster where they had a lot of people that have won before. I didn't love the roster construction. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I thought that this was a bunch of has-beens that were put together to just be has-beens and not win, right? They were actually able to break that and do that wrong. I do think that's a fun story. Do I think their run ends against C9? Probably. I do think that C9 is a better team, and FlyQuest is probably the team to beat this upcoming weekend. But the fact they made it to top 3 is big. I just think I want to see C9 and this team go international. I feel like SR, I don't know how much more we can get out of them and their roster. Whereas if we send Loki, Thanatos international, I think these are young players that haven't experienced it before, and I'd love to see them on what they do and like how they grow going into that environment. For me, Thanatos was a player that I was watching in LCK CL that I really feel like would have a future playing in these events in the LCK, right? And being able to do that in NA, I think is really cool. So for me, I think I'm rooting for C9 to at least make it to EWC and or MSI, and then probably FlyQuest next, because I just think that they're the team that gives us the best hope. But the run for SR, I think the Contracts has always been a criminally underrated player in the league, and he just continues to prove it, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. To the caller's point, because this is also a caller that happened, I want to say 2 weeks ago. He was talking about how amazing of a personality Contracts was, or is, rather. The brother's still alive. So
rest in peace, Contracts.
Rest in peace. But no, like, that's Shopify Rebellion as a team. Like, Fudge in content is incredible. He's someone that's like easily relatable. Same can be said for Contracts. Same can be said for Palafox when he's on the mic. You like hearing him from the mic. Same, actually. We don't get Seos, when he's on the mic, is also great because he's pretty damn fluent in English. So, like, in terms of wanting to root for a team, they're easy to root for because they're all actually very personable people that are like very honest and open on content. And then also just like everybody loves a good underdog. So no matter who it is, like getting an opportunity to have, like, let's say if 100 Thieves were to do again, people were so fucking down for 100 Thieves for like the last couple splits because they broke a lot of expectations. And in this case, you mentioned NRG. It was the exact same thing, where NRG came in, I want to say 5th seed, maybe 6th seed in that playoffs. Could check right now.
Yeah, they were. I think they were 8-10 that regular season, or like 9-9, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, the run that they did was fucking historic, and you love seeing a run from a team that, like, not only has really personable and emotional players like Contracts is, but also just like, you know, players that you didn't expect much from. So I love the roster construction. I thought the only question that I had in my mind was, personally, it was B-Boy and Seos, because like being a champion in CB LOL for me doesn't really mean all too much in a larger pond. Much like I was worried about Jojo going to be a mid laner in Europe, I was like, hopefully that translates well, and it did. At first, it was not looking good because there were a lot of really good mid laners that were beating his ass in the first split. But like that's not the case anymore. And for Seos, he's making a lot of a few mistakes, but he's been doing really well. Some of his flanks are fucking crazy that he had versus like his crazy like game 2 flank on 100 Thieves during the regular season when they won. That was in a game that looked unwinnable. That was awesome. And he finds those moments. He finds those plays. He's really creative. And B-Boy, his Lucian, forget which game that one was. Maybe that was also a game tour. Was fucking incredible, and it reminded me of the first split that he came in and got first team All-Pro. Like his Lucian, that split was incredible as well. So it's like people are clicking individually at the right times. Palafox on stage talked about how they were like he was a bit of an early split slacker and not playing as much solo queue as he would have wanted to, and now it's, you know, they're spamming it and he's playing a lot more confidently. He's not just saying himself. I think he mentioned like Contracts or someone alongside him. But that's like Fudge has already been playing really well individually in the last couple of weeks. Same you can say now for Palafox, and Contracts has just been really consistent throughout. So in terms of like the strengths that this team has, they look really fucking good when certain teams around them are blowing up. Namely Team Liquid.
Yeah, I actually feel like, so a lot of fans I think are really talking about the glow up of Fudge and Palafox. I actually really feel like B-Boy has actually been the piece that's leveled this team up. I thought B-Boy was playing really poorly in Split 1 and somewhat so in Split 2. I know that I think Fudge's improvement was definitely kind of what got them through the regular season along with Palafox. But for me in playoffs, it's been B-Boy that's been the biggest player that stepped up. There were some fights that B-Boy was, like, they had a lot of games that were going late, and there's some fights where I'm like, man, like B-Boy's just not playing these right, you know? It really feels like those have gone to the wayside now with some of the
the Zaya blast cone shit, the series before, he literally ended that on a low and came back on like just skyrocketed up. That was insane to see. So like, I'm excited.
Yeah, and I'll just say, like, with B-Boy, like there was all the kind of chatter last year that he was better than SR was showing, and so like it wasn't super clear that he was better than the team around him, and so like there was kind of some merit to the idea that next year they could be better. And like there's just been a lot of different like the scrims where we're hearing about like how they're doing in scrims and they're really struggling and then they figure it out. Like I just think there's been a lot of really neat, like I think B-Boy B-Boy's kind of been my favorite player in the run. But like I just think it's been a really neat overall thing where like it doesn't just feel like, I mean, I agree that teams are blowing up around them, but it does also feel like we've seen actual improvement. And like TL wasn't, I mean, they didn't play great, but like I think Shopify played really well to beat them, and so it was just cool to see. Like I don't think they would have done that split one. I don't think they would have done that earlier this split. So it's just been cool to see actual improvement, even as TL explodes.
Well, sorry, my brain is slowly rebooting after being fried earlier.
There we go.
Let me just ask you, if I know that you said that you would like to see it be a fight for an MSI spot, but it's the only thing I struggle with is that you don't expect SR to win this weekend. And so I feel like SR's surge is not necessarily indicative of North America deserving a second spot at MSI, right? Like if they go in and then they just get crushed by C9, I think I'd be more open to the idea of like, oh, we deserve a second spot because like maybe the FlyQuest and the C9 matches are really, really close. And then like FlyQuest maybe wins and then they go off and perform really well. Maybe they outperform Europe and it's like, why does Europe get 2 spots and we only get 1 or something like that? Those are the things I think that are more convincing to me versus like we need, and I think also probably for the folks at Riot, like if you're saying we need a second spot at MSI so that our like second, third place match is exciting, like that's not really a compelling reason to me versus something along the lines of, hey, this will be very invigorating for the North American fan base. And we have teams that can challenge some of these other teams at MSI in a convincing way. And you're running an event right after that has 12 teams at it. So why are you running only 10 at this one? This type of stuff,
We're in a competitive atmosphere, right? We're in competition. When was the last time the second seed and third seed from Europe was any good versus us? Real question. Real fucking question.
Golden Guardians was technically 4th. I mean, versus
that's
us,
a good one. That's a good one. That's actually one. That's one.
Not since we really started sending this.
That's like 4 Aneros ago, though.
No?
Is my only problem with it,
Or what ago?
Aneros.
That's true.
What kind of measurement of time is that?
That's a long time. That's a very long time.
Well, you think about all of his teams and which ones he's had and all that stuff. So that's like ancient history.
Isn't an arrow like a life cycle for a team?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like a season.
Oh, no.
Anytime people talk about Europe doing well versus us, it's literally G2. And you talk about Mad Lions, and they're like, yeah, but that team doesn't exist. I'm sorry, man. You can't just say every one of your teams don't exist. You're a one-team region then. That's who you are. And then K-Corp goes international, obviously in first stand, if you want to call that an international. I guess it is. And guess what happens? They do quite well. They go to the finals. Yes. Who do they lose to? Fucking North America. All right, I'm done.
All right. Well, okay. We've talked about this for a while. Thank you to antoniopizza for the call. Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Yeah, I'll shout out Arizona State League of Legends. I was the dev coach for most of the season and then varsity coach at the end of the year. We had a little bit of a struggle in CLOL, but we made a run at the NECC tournament in the P1 division, so that was a lot of fun. It was my first year coaching. It was super cool. I learned a lot. It was a really cool team. So shout out to those guys. And then shout out to me. Doublelift was in my skill bracket today just because he's doing the all rolls to challenger, so he's playing against Diamond 4 Scrubs, and so I played against him and won today. So
hey,
hey, post that.
Yeah.
Anywhere you can post it, post it.
Okay, congrats, man. Way to help out with Collegiate League too.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a really good time,
cool.
And it's good to do, I think. So.
I'm actually going to be in Phoenix. Speaking of Arizona, I'm going to be in Phoenix in August for a Magic event that's happening out there. So
nice.
Yeah, Laugh at Dragon. But yeah, thanks so much, Antonio, for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you.
All right. You know what? We'll do one more. We only have one sponsor tonight, so we've only done 2 calls so far. We can bring in another one.
Yeah, let's keep it going.
Thank you to Joshua Lippelman for the 8 months. We've got a Jammin' TST for 30. Oh my God, Joseph Joestar for 43 months. Thank you, everybody, for the
Jojo.
support. Joseph Joestar. I don't think that's Jojo.
Yep.
I mean, in some
that's
sense,
a Jojo.
you could shorten it to Jojo. Oh my God, Jojo.
It's a literal Jojo fucking anime. Joseph Joestar is a character in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, so he is a Jojo.
I don't really do that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Well, I did start watching an anime this past weekend. And it's called Blue Eye Samurai.
I've heard about it actually.
It's quite good. I've not finished it yet, but yeah. All right, we've got Basil here. Basil, where are you calling from?
Calling from California.
Oh, it's the other Basil.
I know.
The good
There's
one.
2 Basils that call into the
better
show.
Basil.
I drew 3 cats for you, Raz. 3.
True, it's the goat Basil.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Basil, I think you call into the show more frequently than the other Basil now. So I think
the other Basil's a bum.
Yeah.
True.
Lazy. All right.
Call her out, Queens. Call her out.
Draw on a couple cat faces and post it on Twitter and call it a day. All right. Basil, what do you want to talk about on the show?
So my take is that despite being really cool, really historic, Jojo winning EU is very bad for NA.
Okay. Why can't we have a moment of celebration? All right.
How do we turn this into a negative?
I know. I'm waiting for the day where it's like, even though it's great that after 2 decades, a North American team has won MSI, it's actually terrible for North America, you know?
No, I'm interested. He actually might have the greatest take of all time.
All right, let's go. Yeah, what do you got for us?
So the reason is, with all of the esports winter stuff and NA viewership going down, we don't have the money advantage. Meaning, if EU realizes they can win with some of our top players, they can just buy them. Like, they could just give Yon a paycheck, put him on G2. They could give Masu a paycheck. They could even be like, oh, we want Blaber to, like, lead a team of, like, rookies. We need veteran experience in the jungle. We don't really see a player in EU that fits that. Let's grab him. And he's better than a Korean import because he actually, like, maybe is, like, more fluent in English, can communicate better. Maybe the culture is a little bit better so we can acclimate quicker.
Maybe just a better player, you know, because
maybe
it's Jojo.
Yeah. So if EU realizes that they can win with some of our best players, they might just take them and some of the original imports that left EU for a bigger paycheck in NA. Especially with things like the TL losing their biggest sponsor and viewership being on average like below 100K this split. It's looking kind of dicey.
Okay, but what if we leverage this where we start to send so many North American players over to Europe that Riot realizes that what they could do is they could just merge North America and Europe into a league called LATE, which is League of the Americas and the Europes, and we finally combine it all together.
I was in a call with Jamada, and we both thought the same thing, that it would be better to just merge NA and EU, to take like the top 4 NA teams and just put them there, but that's
already a negative.
Happening.
The fact that you said it was a Jamada opinion, that already disqualifies it as a negative, as a really bad opinion.
Travis,
Jamada
I like how
good takes.
I like how you managed to fit in the and the and the abbreviation. Please continue your cooking.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So anyway, do I think this is bad? Do I think this is going to be sort of a big trend? Well, one, Jojo, I don't feel like went to. I mean, correct me if anybody heard other rumors, but like my impression was not that he was going to Europe because he could, like, they were paying him way more than everybody else over here. My impression was that it was because there wasn't really a good spot for him here. Like, the top teams did not have a spot for him. He didn't want to go to like a bottom team. He was going to play for like Disguised or something, right? And so, like, going to a very popular team over there was worth it. Whereas I don't know if, like, I don't know, like you would think that if these players who are really, really good over here could would want to go play over there that like Inspired would be over there right now. You know, if they were able to pay more money. I guess one could argue maybe he's been under contract and that's like stopping it or something, and he's just like chomping at the bit to get back to EU. But like that is not my impression of him. It's not my impression of a lot of the North American players. So I don't know. I don't feel like this is like some dam is going to break now and we're going to see like a flood of North American talent into Europe. We also have the weather advantage, by the way. Nobody ever talks about that. Go fucking live in Germany for a bit. You're going to come right back here as fast as you can. Like, I don't think it's that big of a concern. I'm not buying it.
I will say, though, why would EU teams want to sign EU talent when they realize they can just take from us, though? We have the better players, the better region.
Oh, yes.
They might be going for it.
Yeah.
They're hotter. They're basically models. Like, definitely more attractive.
Busio looks cute as hell. I'll just say that. Busio is a good looking man.
I don't know. I think Busio's pretty overrated in terms of appearance. But anyway, continue.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yes. So I will start by saying, I've said this a few times already, that I pretty much disagree with Travis. It's not really a money thing. I think like teams like FlyQuest, I think Shopify, depends on where Cloud9 is at on the day.
Zeus was 175K buyout, by the way, which I think is that shit insane. Like that.
They're willing to
pay. I still like, even with where SR is at in third, is that worth the money yet? I don't know. That's like actually a real question, you know?
They are worth I still think North America will pay more. I don't know what like the K Corps of the world is. Like, for instance, I saw the article from Sheep Esports about Larson taking a smaller deal because that guy was somehow being paid like one of the most, but we all know why. Like, he was doing really well earlier on, not so much these days. And then he was now I think being paid close to minimum, which is like the average salary. So the way they talked about it was like, oh, so European players are still not being paid that much. So I don't think it's a money thing. And in the past, this is what I've said before, like North American players have been offered to play on European teams. And the things that have like stopped them from doing so has been the idea of leaving Los Angeles, a sunny Los Angeles, to Germany has like actually stopped quite a few people. Another thing is obviously the leaving their friends and family type of thing, but it's like it is a big issue for them to leave, to go to a team, go to a region, and a lot of the times you're not going to be requested by like the best teams. So it'd be like I'm just throwing out teams like Vitality or Rogue or whatever. Like those type of teams are the teams that are asking. So you're like, so I'm going to a team that is going to pay me very little. We're not going to win a championship or contest really. And I'm going to Germany. I think that's a no for a lot of people.
Okay.
Not Rogue. I mean, I'm just saying, now I know Navi's coming in, but I'm just saying in the past, like years and years and years and years ago, I have one player that I like one or two players that I know about. I say players, former players. They're now retired.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This is interesting because from what I've heard, I actually feel like the caller there should be slight concern going into the next offseason. I've actually heard that in terms of holding on to talent, and we have seen this trend where the pocketbooks of EU have like gotten bigger, right? It hasn't like 100% overtaken NA, but this could be the next offseason where like that problem exasperates more. So I think that what the caller, like the concern behind it is real. I think the reasoning behind it, like everything that Raz pointed to, Jojo didn't have a team here where he would be able to compete to go international. So he went to EU, and he did it within 6 months. And like, more power to him, you know?
And Jojo wasn't even the first one to be successful by going into Europe as a North American player. Hamza went in and ran roughshod. Okay, that's
no. Again, though, like, I mean, that's the funny part is Jojo was... I'm so mad at like what happened to Jojo this past offseason. Like, if I'm going to be honest, I have never seen like the machine work like that against a player to try and devalue him behind the scenes. I really, really, really like don't respect what happened with Jojo this past offseason. So for me, it's such a big win to see him go have this sort of success within 6 months. Like in a region and actually taking down a team that has been like the bane of existence for not just NA teams, but for like LCK teams historically too, right? Like, I mean, G2 have actually been able to take down, like with Caps, I mean, top teams internationally. Like for Jojo to win that final within 6 months, I don't care what form G2's in. That's a team that's tough to beat over there.
And
So I'm really, really happy and excited for what Jojo was able to do. Again, I've never seen a behind the scenes where a player was trying to be devalued that much. I thought it was really gross what happened this past offseason. So props to Jojo. He earned it. I'm excited to see him go compete at international. I think that like when he was at Worlds, remember Worlds Q, and how Jojo just became the main character of that, like playing Singed mid, and actually got respect for like some of the players. Like this guy is really, really talented at the game. So I'm really excited to see what he can do.
And you already said doing his style.
Yes.
Like picking up and performing as well as he did on Kassadin, like a pick that we just have not seen in a very long time. Playing obviously like Ari, Silas, Kassadin, like Yone. Like he is a very exciting player, and he has not changed his style at all while going to Europe and making the willingness to make mistakes. Some of those games he has leads and he throws them, but that's because he's like, that's just who he is. That's what he does, and he's willing, and he learns from it. He's not going to change his entire identity. He's going to be like, you know what, I'll just fucking play better. So it's great to see that.
That's why I was really bummed to lose him, and I'm really happy that he's doing well. And I think that like the biggest positive of this, if you are an NA fan, is that you get to watch this guy compete international. It's a shame we don't get to see him in this region anymore. I think it's a crime we let him walk, but I'm excited for him. I'm really excited for him.
And the last thing is, because we mentioned all of the things that would want to keep you in North America, another thing that's probably going to push that away from you is like, if you want to be somebody that plays for internationals, Jojo would love to go to an international. You talk to any player, like they want to go to an international. The fact that there's only one slot for North America and split 1, split 2 matters.
Yes,
now I'm a winner and I can't go because I feel like I don't have those offers, or I can't get it. Or if like, well, maybe I can build up this team, blah, 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 and we can make it third. No. That's not even a possibility. So that fucking sucks. And it's going to make it harder for a player to, if they have an option to go to Europe with more slots, they'll do it.
That was literally what I was about to say. Like, I've been kind of sitting on the sidelines. Like, what's funny is the area where I do agree with you, Basil, is not, the European teams are going to realize we've got great talent. They can go poach our stuff. It's like, you are immediately disadvantaged if you are a North American player compared to being in Europe. Like, there's just less opportunity given to you in terms of spots and availability at international events.
It's way more competitive over there to make it too, by the way. Like, Yukino is walking into a really hard scenario. It's really competitive trying to make it.
That is fair. It is more competitive over there, but there's just like, from an optics perspective and from a format and the way that Riot has literally built the structure of their ecosystem now, it is more difficult. So I think there are more reasons for North American players to want to go to Europe than there necessarily are for European teams to try to like grab North American players. That being said, I think our existing talent that is already secure in an LTA position doesn't have to worry about it. Like, I think these people are not the ones that are going to necessarily go, but that's where I'm at.
I could see a world where Inspired goes back. I mean, I don't know. I think that he's someone that is really motivated to win and motivated by what he could be compensated as, and rightfully so. He's one of the best players in the West. So
yeah.
Honestly,
you're right. This is to Travis. Like, tier 2 is where we'll lose a lot of our players. You mentioned Yukino. Yukino is a great example of that. If someone wants to just like live, breathe League of Legends, and they're not going to feel like they can do that and still have a living wage while living in North America, like Gorilla Jones, then he's gonna go to Europe. So yeah, like that's the concern, is if Zamudo or somebody is like, hey, I really want to play in tier 1, but let's just say a random bottom of the barrel team says we're gonna pick up Korean LCKCL player number 300, then I'm like, I'm just gonna go to the German league.
I don't think that Yukino could find a spot in NA better than what he has at KCB. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Basil, for the call. Anything you want to shout out here?
One, I'll shout out NZXT once again. I've had like my PC for like 4 years and it still runs great. Haven't found a game that it can't run. Also shout out to all of the BBWs out there. Bye bye.
That's crazy.
Wait, BBWs is in Bath Body Works?
Yes, is in
that.
Bath and Body Works. That's exactly what he was talking about, Raz.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thank you for clarifying, because I think some people in our audience might have been confused.
Exactly. I personally would be very confused.
Well, speaking of NZXT, which was the thing that the viewer originally shouted out at the beginning.
Oh, my headphones.
Thank you so much to NZXT for sponsoring Hotline League. They're an amazing partner for us. Really, really love them. Numi is sharing their link over in the chat. I've seen some people recently. Somebody messaged me asking for the code. The code is Travis5. Travis5. You know what's 5? Because 5%, which is what you're going to save when you use Travis5 to purchase something over at nzxt.co/Travis. They have a bunch of different gaming PCs listed there, including a look at what I use on my own system here. But you can take a look at all their different deals. They've got some that right now they have $300 off the 5090, which is currently a bestseller. I've been gaming on a 5090 gaming PC that they hooked me up with, which has been really fun. I have that in the living room, and I've been using that to play. I beat Expedition 33, amazing game, by the way. Started Final Fantasy VII Rebirth again, because I had previously tried it on console, but really wanted to play it on a PC with all the beautiful graphics turned up. And then I think I'm going to try Stellar Blade soon. And after Stellar Blade, I will probably get into Death Stranding 2, which is coming out soon. Anyway, whatever. As you can tell, I've got a lot of different video games that I'm going to be playing, and I'm going to be playing them on my NZXT PC. And you can too by purchasing an NZXT PC over at nzxt.co/Travis. And when you do, use code Travis5 to save 5% on that. And by the way, as I've said before, if you are not the type of person who just wants to buy a completely built PC, go grab some components from them. That's completely cool. They make great stuff for people. Beautiful cases, including their new case. Beautiful coolers. All sorts of amazing stuff. Customizable LCDs on these liquid coolers, which are great. I love mine. And that's also there as well. They've got some gaming gear. So a lot of different stuff that you can check out on the NZXT website from NZXT. So thanks so much to NZXT for sponsoring the show. Awesome products. Love working with them. Basil Leafs in the chat, notably not the last caller. Both Basils. The last caller, shout out Basil. The last Basil caller, shout out NZXT. And now we've got Basil Leafs in the chat shouting out NZXT. So,
have you seen both these Basils in the same room? I haven't.
I have not. So maybe it's just one Basil that is shouting out NZXT. But either way, thank you to NZXT for sponsoring the show.
And another entity.
Yeah. Golden KS said started playing Expedition 33 because of you, Travis. Super good. It is so good. And I'm really annoyed because Drew, my video guy, went all the way up to the very end, has not beaten it yet. I'm trying to get him to do it, but he's like, I want to play Fortnite. So yeah. FTC disclosure, I was given a free key for Expedition 33, which I think I have to say every time I ever talk about it for the rest of my life.
How
but,
cool, Travis. What a flex, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try not to piss off any government agencies these days. Miss Timed is here. Miss Timed, where are you calling from?
Good evening. I am calling from Washington State.
Washington State. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Here to talk strategy.
Strategy, okay.
Yeah. I'm on the project of getting Shopify to finals. I think Neutralizing Thanatos is the most important part of stopping C9. And Contracts has recently been playing heavily towards top lane in the early game to a lot of success. Fudge has been popping off, but a lot of it is Contracts helping him. And also, I think Palafox he's a much better player when he has confidence, and especially ever since that pentakill, I think he's been picking up a lot of confidence. It's the same way when they did the NRG run. I think he's a confidence-based player. So I think that as long as Shopify Rebellion draft cohesive team fighting comps and focus or a top early game, then they will win against C9 and go to the finals.
All right, Cubby, I know Raz and I have been kind of kicking things off tonight. What do you think of this?
I think Shopify run ends here. For me, I think the biggest thing about C9 and the approach, and to be fair, I think what C9 actually kind of showed in their series against FlyQuest, my biggest concern was just strategic diversity. I feel like C9 plays a lot of stuff where it still is in like narrower roles within compositions compared to what other teams can play, right? I feel like their strat book is just a little bit narrower. And for me, they actually kind of proved that that wasn't the case against FlyQuest. Even if later on, they still kind of defaulted to melee mids with agency, which is okay, right? But I think if I'm SR, it's trying to find like creative ways to beat that. I still feel like with C9, like Vulcan lost his games on Milio and Lulu against FlyQuest. That's something that they didn't show a lot of throughout the split. Their ability to play Enchantress supports, and definitely something that I think historically Vulcan's always been more effective at engagers than Enchantresses. I think finding ways or angles to play into that and try and find wins is big. I feel like that would be my approach, is to kind of take the ball out of Vulcan's hands and narrow up his pool is like early on. And I'm curious to see if SR goes for that. I think that if there's any approach, I think that's the angle that I'd attack. But regardless, still think that they don't have enough gas in the tank to actually take down C9. Because I do feel like C9 is playing really well. They made that series closer to FlyQuest than what they should have. You can argue they should have won it 3-1, right, with how that game 2 went. And Blippo saving the game on the set. So for me, it is just kind of trying to find strats that we should be able to narrow up C9's pool faster with Fearless, and then also strats where you might be able to play outside of the roles more effectively than C9 does. Because I still feel like C9 needs to play with agency, and if they don't, then they sometimes get lost.
How confident are you that they're going to pick agency?
C9 or SR?
C9.
Oh, I mean, that's all they've done all year and what they default to. So I'm pretty confident that it's that or bust.
Okay. I feel like in the past, when especially in playoffs, when they go down, it's because they suddenly make a pivot and draft that nobody expects, and then they don't do it right.
Well, yeah, I think it's because like those pivots too even play for agency as well, you know? I feel like it's like almost too much into the early game.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I really think Shopify's like I think the take about playing towards top is fair. 100%. I think Thanatos has proven to be really fucking good, and the way they even got to game 5 was just how well Thanatos played his lane and how they played around him versus Bippo. I think Bippo, I mean, he made it very clear that he didn't think he played well in games 3 and 4 to get into game 5. So yes, I think it's fair to call out the strengths of Thanatos. But I do think it's unfair to then look at the rest of the team and say that Shopify has any edge. I know you mentioned the confidence thing, but like Blaber, I still think is very good. It's very fair to say historically in playoffs, not even playoffs, just like games in the past, if there is somebody that had his number, sometimes it has been contracts. Actually, the finals of 2023 summer. That's where contracts also just had a really
even like series. In order to get there, there were really close series that NRG played against C9, right?
Yeah.
Like they went to 5 against, I think, TL, like a split earlier with Luger and Poom. Like that was close. They've been more competitive in the past, right?
They were more competitive. Bot lane and mid lane are still to me like points where Shopify has to show consistency, because Sven and Vulcan, I voted them as my first team all pro bot lane. I think people knee jerked with the last series where Sven and Vulcan are really, really good in team fights, in lanes. I thought they were always on the same page on how they wanted to play certain matchups. And I think Loki is somebody that is interesting because I don't remember where I voted him. Because a lot of the mid laners were kind of like looking over Loki because they were saying that he didn't really do anything special and that he just did his job. Whereas if you talk to like junglers or other players, they were like, no, I haven't, or even just like some people on broadcast, but like he's like, oh, well, I think he's the best because he's consistent and he always does his job and he plays around Blaber and all these things. Like I think Loki is very, very good. I think right now the meta is revolving around how good Azir is as a blind pick, and he is a very good Azir. And I don't know. I we'll see, because it's hard to call upsets. It really is. Like if you're calling upsets, it's not based off anything analytically. For me, it's usually like I just have a feeling on the day that this could happen. And I think that your reasoning for top lane is fair. Fudge is scaling really well, and he has been consistent for the past couple of weeks now. And that could be a great matchup. I think it's a bad matchup. I think if your best consistent lane is going to be going up against a team that has technically a better player and they have more tools across the map, that is worse for your team. Because then you have to find another angle. So I think it might be a very hard series. So we'll see. Someone just said no. I don't know if they PPG. I need to know what you mean by that. But yeah, I think it's going to be harder for them.
Yeah. I don't know if you have any additional thoughts on this mistimed.
It's going to be hard for sure. I still like Shopify's endurance in games. How they can really drag things out, and then their team fighting is good. Is it good enough is the question. But I that they've been able to flip games from behind because they drag it out, and I have faith in their ability to keep going with that, I guess.
I'm going to use the Indiana Pacers argument.
Oh boy.
Whereas like they beat a team that was definitely on the downward swing, like spiraling down in Team Liquid. Like Yanya was talking about how Yuji was performing poorly. He wasn't even the worst performing member on that team.
Yeah, they had issues.
It was crazy how poorly, like, Impact, APA, in certain cases Core JJ, like the only one that I really had any faith in was Yan. Like that team had a lot of problems, and so they looked really good in comparison to that. And now they have to prove that they can do it versus Cloud9 and FlyQuest, where maybe not even FlyQuest. I guess the argument is literally just Cloud9, and I haven't really seen an example in which they could do that. And it's so funny because the last time they played was, I'm pretty sure, just positioning phase.
The very end of it?
Really?
I'm looking at this, and it's like they weren't in the same group. And then, of course, like during cross groups, because, it's been a long time.
Well, I think that's all fair enough. I'm kind of inspired maybe on FlyQuest, but it is Contracts who inspires me to call things with my heart, not my brain.
That's fair.
True.
I am trying to use my brain to justify it, but
no, I mean, I thought it'd be close against TL, right? But I had TL winning, so SR like continue to prove stuff, right? I think it's been a fun part of the split for sure.
For sure.
Thank you so much, Miss Time, for the call. Anything that you would like to shout out here at the end?
I will shout out Whippo's interview with Spawn. I thought Whippo did a great job as an interviewer, and I thought Spawn did a great job as an interviewee. That was great. Yeah. Also shout out to the quality shoulder rubs that are being handed out on stage. Those are great. I know 100 Thieves got some. I know Shopify Rebellion got. Can we get one for Contracts, please? He carries all his. I swear to God, when he gets tense in games, he's carrying. Give that boy a fucking shoulder rub. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, and we'll catch you next time.
Good call as always from Mistimed.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah. I can pull another caller, Travis. Yeah. I'll leave it up to you. We have one more in the bank. If you want one more afterwards, I can do that as well.
No, I mean, if you see an amazing take that you really want to grab, that's fine. If you feel like there's something that we're not covering, but I don't want to force it. If you feel like we've covered a lot of the stuff that's in there, or maybe it's not.
Is there anything that maybe you want to see that we haven't had yet? Because I think our next one's a repeat. We've had some stuff about next week too.
I think we've talked a lot about this week. We've talked about I think we've covered almost everything. We even had a caller from Texas, but to say that they're going to go to the finals. So yeah, I think I think this is probably fine unless you see anything pop up.
No, I think we're good. Last caller then
All right.
for Shandabear. I'm gonna go get them.
I'll be quick.
Thank you to what is going on with Raz? Thank you to Magnarius, Papyr. I think I got you guys. Oh, here we go. Jargly Parf, Showtime, Awful, and Bowen for the 500 bits. Thank you, everybody, for the subs and the bits. Oh wait, I can't count. No, I can't count. Okay, thank you, Bowen. Really appreciate it. We should have our next caller here in just a moment. By the way, I'll be at MagicCon the week after LTA Finals. If you are going to be at MagicCon and you would like to play drafts with me, I'm going to be hosting some with my community, so you can check out the Magic the Gathering channel on my Discord, which is discord.gg/Travis. And I've already have some people from our community that have said that they're going to go to it, so it should be kind of cool. Shandabear is here. Shandabear, where are you calling from?
Hey, how's it going, boys? I am calling from Rochester, New York.
Rochester, New York. Raz is not here yet to hear your take. He ran off. I don't know where and why, but how long have you been following League Esports?
Oof, I have been playing since Season 2, May of whatever that was, 2012, when Vars released, and then I've been watching all Esports since beginning Season 3, or end of Season 2. I remember falling asleep watching Azubu Frost take on Taipei, and that was
my gosh,
a wild series. So,
you're a long-standing viewer.
Long time.
Fantastic. Well,
yeah, long time listener, first time caller.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for calling in. Well, I'm sorry that we don't have Raz here. Oh, here he comes. I see him. He's slowly shutting his door.
Is that in the mirror?
Room.
He's getting there.
Yeah. Oh, now he's looking in the mirror. And finally, he's back. Okay, so Shandabear, what is your take?
All right, so I kind of got two, but we'll start off with the main one. Is basically, this is kind of one of the greatest timelines, if not the greatest timeline we could have asked for in terms of hype for the spring split, especially when we're coming to the end here. Again, being the longtime League viewer, I kind of died down right around season 8, 9, and eventually caught back up. And I remember sitting there watching 2022 Worlds Finals, DRX versus T1, just jumping up and down and screaming in that amount of hype. And nothing made me feel that same hype, unlike watching FlyQuest take on Gen.G. And seeing that much hype go into that, this is kind of, I think we're getting to that point in terms of international events. I mean, you went from, teams that people were calling maybe they're fake, maybe they're good in TL and 100 Thieves. They both end up getting knocked down by Shopify, the team no one thinks is going to pull it through. They start building back up again. You're seeing confidence and you're seeing these old players come back out and it's getting really hype again. You still have C9 being this clinical, they're still a powerhouse, but they're very, step by step. You can kind of see where they're going with it. They're going to build their normal drafts. And then you have FlyQuest, kind of this bulldozer so far, but they seem to be they can get challenged. But with Shopify coming in, you're having the underdog story into the into the second place game. That then goes on. You're going to have a great story regardless. You're going to have which of these two teams between FlyQuest and C9 really is the best that's going to go. If C9 does it, they got a lot of work to do. If you listen to the not the dive pros, Bwipo and everyone is saying it's run through top lane. So do you want to send Bwipo, the most what we would call versatile top laner that we have, and put that up against maybe Zeus or Keen and Bin and everyone that we're going to be playing against? No, or are you going to send Thanatos, the absolute carry of Cloud9, and you saw that in the last series of games? But no matter what we send, I think we're getting really, really hype and really close to really having the chance to see that FlyQuest versus Gen.G Magic again.
I like this a lot. I think that there's a lot of excitement coming into this weekend in terms of this is not what I think many of us expected. I feel like for so much of this year, we were just like, oh yeah, it's like FlyQuest at the top and maybe C9 and TL. I do think that as much as I consider Fly to be the heavy favorite, like I do think C9 could take them. I'm more skeptical about Shopify, but I still think it's pretty neat because people who like underdog stories can get behind them. I know. Wait, Gracey, no, Gracey in the chat is like, I thought they were a big Shopify fan, and so there's definitely been some people who've been like pushing up the Shopify train for a while. So I think it's just neat to see a little bit of a different narrative than what we expected, but I think in a surprising and fun way. My only issue is I wish that it felt like FlyQuest was a bit less of a favorite. Not to say that like the favorites can't fall. Obviously, we saw that at the end of summer last year, but I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. I hope we get some really great games.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think based on the predictions that we had from the broadcast and what people felt behind the scenes, C9 did make that series versus FlyQuest closer. So if it's a question of whether or not they can do it again, I mean, I think they can. Like, I still favor FlyQuest, but I think I said 65-35, and that looked closer than a 65-35 to me. It really could have been a C9 win in the end, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Raz, I know you had to run out, but you got here in time for the take.
I did, and it's about like I think it's exciting. I do believe that the fact that we're having Shopify Rebellion in the finals weekend with TL and FlyQuest is exciting. I like the fact that it's like you get another underdog story. Is it the most exciting in a long time? I just remember 2022 summer, I want to say, where we were just getting like game 5, game 5, game 5. It was like literally actually.
Yeah.
I pulled it up here. I think
I
it was
thought
like,
the energy run was fun too.
yeah, like TSM having game 5s versus FlyQuest and the drama of like Instinct is playing, but here comes Tactical and he's fucking hard carrying this team.
Oh, God.
Barely lose to EG. EG goes on to win the split. The whole what if, blah blah blah. Like it was like that was ridiculous. The whole my problem with this year is that we are getting a lot of 3-0s. We're getting so many fucking 3-0s.
True, though.
It is so crazy. It's actually just so sad. Split 1 was the same. And I mean, Split 1, we only had one best of 5. But that was a 3-0. And then in Split 2, we were hoping that would not happen. We got 2 3-0s in the upper bracket. A 3-0 from Shopify to 100 Thieves. It's like, I'm not asking for game 5s every time. I'm just asking for a competitive series. And I think we're finally starting to get that. It's just sad. So that's the only thing where I'm like, I wasn't excited during winners bracket and losers bracket, only because, at least first round I wasn't excited. Because first round just felt so one-sided in every series. But it is getting much, much better. I think the competition between, the quote-unquote bottom 4 teams or whoever versus the top 2 teams is very stark. And that's what made it very weird. And then it was like a poor time for Team Liquid to really collapse as a team, in my opinion. But it's nice. And 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves had some weird issues as well. But it was nice to finally see like Shopify Rebellion kind of rise up and through that. So is it the most excited in a while? I wouldn't say yes to that, but it is starting to get excited now. So I'm happy.
Is it the number one? No, but if you're coming from, we're gonna ignore season 1 because that didn't exist, but winter, whatever. But if you're going from Last Worlds to this one, a relatively quick hype from one to the next. We've waited 6 months, but goddamn it, we're trying to get as hype as we can for this, and bring LTA North back and all that. And yes, it would be nice if TL wasn't just fading away and then just faded in that last series, and 100 Thieves seemed to have stuff going on behind, but bring it down to these 3 teams. I'm really glad that SR is in the mix. It does add a little bit more flair to it, makes it fun. Really, I want to see C9 versus FlyQuest again. I want to see FlyQuest win the way they have won this whole time. I want them to be creative. I want Inspire to dominate the jungle no matter who it is he's going against. Contracts looks hot, and Blaber is Blaber. Either way, it's going to be impressive if he really dominates in that way. And with that, and if Whippo can calm down rather than feeling like he's got to jump in, take on Thanatos every time, and everyone can play their role and do that well, I think it's going to be really exciting. The second take I had was about the Fearless draft and how it makes it exciting. It isn't, okay, we're going to take these 5 S tier champs and these 5 S tier champs. And when we get to game 5, well, now it's nonsense. What it adds is, and Bwipo kind of showed that this weekend with the Cho'Gath first pick, you get all the way to the game 5, you still have Narup, you're still banning Scion and all these things. So it's not like these, you get to game 5 and everything just becomes insanity. You get to see kind of that thought process and draft strategy early on in the series because, okay, we don't have to pick the best top laner right now. I can just keep picking the counter until he's out of champions and whoop, okay, I have Cassante in my pocket or something. And I don't know. I think going in, I think we got a good chance. I think we got a good chance against China because they're just throwing haymakers over there. That AL BLG series was wild, but I'm just excited to see us take on either Gen G or even T1. If we beat T1, if FlyQuest beats T1, just for put the title up, run the banner, send out the trucks in the good way. It'll
negative
be
way
insane.
too.
And they will, but I asked them not to.
I like how you're just like progressively like getting more and more excited as a fan throughout this, by the way.
Yeah.
Like,
if
we do this, then I get this much more excited.
For 12
if we do this.
13 goddamn years, I watched Double If and his back to back to back to back. I was his biggest fanboy at that time. TSM through 2016, everything, Cloud9 to semis, everything ends, and you're like, God damn it. It was close. That would have been at least fun. And FlyQuest versus Gen G was the closest we've ever gotten, and one of the most insane best of 5s I think NA's ever been a part of. That was, we'll call it 1 season ago, and I think we still absolutely have that possibility. I think most of FlyQuest has improved. I think it's getting hype. I think if we're able to send FlyQuest, I think MSI is going to be baller for NA.
To your point, since that FlyQuest Gen G moment, we're getting right back to it. Man, it's fucking fun to see. 100%.
Hey, thanks so much, Shandabear, for the call. Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Absolutely. I want to shout out my beautiful girlfriend, Shabella. Got her into League a few years ago. She was there. Her first Worlds was 2022 Worlds Finals, and she got to watch me act a fool for 3.5 hours. That was a blast. My buddy, Malakat, he's in Colorado right now, just graduated with his doctorate in chemistry. Buddy in all these hours, podcast, NZXT, been, again, like I said, a long time listener. But first time caller. Love everything that's been going on. Shout out Raz Cub, Travis, all of you guys do a fantastic job.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for calling in. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, catch you next time.
Hell yeah.
All right, that is our last caller, but we can still talk for the next 30 minutes. Raz, what you been doing lately? You play any video games? What you been doing?
Well, I haven't been able to play much, but now that we've settled, we're back on the Persona 5 grind, especially knowing that Persona 4 remake is on the horizon. Oh my god. At first I was like, we don't need another Persona 4 game. Not saying that there was that many, because there's more remakes on Persona 3. But I was like, dude, just play Persona 4 Golden. Then I saw the reveal. It's sexy. Oh my god, it's insane. It's so cool. Yes, I'm excited. I'm playing that game. I'm usually not the type to replay a game. I hate the idea of replaying games, and this is the final boss of replaying games because it's a fucking 100-hour RPG. But I'm willing to do it. Raz has been playing high school dating sims. Unfortunately, Ezekiel, yes, that has been the case. That has absolutely been the case. And I'm unashamed. Look, I'm not going to say anymore.
I'm trying to get you to play Expedition 33.
Yes, but now the backlog is getting deeper. Though Persona 4 Remake won't be coming out for a little bit, right? So I think we can get Expedition 33 in there.
Please. You're one of the few people that I know that works in esports that, much like myself, will actually play games that are not World of Warcraft, Path of Exile, or League of Legends.
Someone says Raz went with Futaba. I have not chosen a person yet. It's actually the Persona 5 is a hard game to choose. All right, but I can't go too far into this conversation because they're all high schoolers. So we're moving on with the conversation. We're moving on.
All right, we're gonna take you off the mic now, Cubby. What you got going on? What's going on in your life?
Just I've got LPL. I'm in the 2 final series of LPL, so I'm pretty much just watching good League of Legends, or at least entertaining League of Legends, and prepping for that, and then enjoying the LCK playoffs as well, hopefully, because KT's gotten hot at the right time. That's been fun.
Awesome.
Is KT gonna KT Raz while we're just
Yeah, they are.
30 minutes to talk? They are.
I can't believe people are getting excited for KT.
I know.
Is that what Chronicler was saying earlier? I feel like in chat that he thought it was going to be.
They've been good. KT's been good.
His ears up. He's perking his ears up right now. He's starting to type as we speak. The fact that KT is blowing teams out, and you're right, Lore is getting excited. Emily is not really getting. I mean, she is, but it's the classic KT fan excitement where we all just know what's going to happen. Yep, there it is. Chronicler with a smiley face. Look, it's not going to happen, guys. You're going versus T1 and you're going to get boomed. It's the sad reality of life.
Well, it's over, Cubby.
All right. Well, that's fine. I at least asked to see if he's excited or not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
That's all right.
I'm not.
It's all right.
Well, let's do. I know we were kind of chatting here, but let's do some shout outs, some plugs here at the end. Cubby, what do you got for me?
Oh man. Shout out to everyone for tuning in to any and all League of Legends, especially NICL. I know we didn't talk about our split wrapping up, but congrats to LG on winning. Once UG got swapped out, they were the best team, and definitely showed that in the finals. And thanks to all my teammates on a good NACL split. I get 2 more casts for LPL coming up, and then that's it for me for a while. So I'm kind of there's always this break that happens that I'm sure Raz can relate with, which is when the end of the year is approaching. You have a little bit more time to prep for everything, but also you have more time to enjoy what's actually going on. I can't enjoy all of League across the world anymore. So the fact that I get to now with this is actually really, really fun. I've really enjoyed watching. Yeah, I really enjoyed EU and really enjoy LCK, and I just haven't been able to enjoy those leagues quite as much this year with what I've committed to. So anyway, it's been fun.
Yeah. Raz, how about you? What do you want to shout out? What do you want to plug?
Look, you mentioned the word luminosity, and I must shout out to fucking Insanity Tomio, Tactical, them boys. Holy, yes, Zazel and Fake God as well, but in general, these guys should be in tier 1 is all I'm gonna say. They're fucking great, incredible players, and they're gonna prove it back to back.
Yep. That's the fun. They get to prove it. That's actually a really fun part about this year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They get to prove it. People always doubting, and then it comes into this where they have to show people, no, I'm gonna fucking slap the respect into your face. When Insanity went to tier 2, I was like, guys, I'm pretty sure he was the fucking one of the best players on his teams, constantly. He was really, really good. The same could be said with Tactical. That brother was just on a losing boat for fucking ever. He was the best player on a shit organization for a long, very, very long time. So so let's just hope that the tides are changing on that one. We'll see. This is the one thing that I love about the whole guest slot is even though I pray that we do not lose Disguised, I love the idea of having someone who cares so much and is a forward-facing brand for his team. But competition is competition. That's where the promotion tournament comes into play.
Yeah, I guess we never really talked about the DSG roster change. We'll have to save that for another episode.
Yeah, it's not particularly relevant to anytime soon. So.
It's not relevant to playoffs. We'll have to talk about that when push comes to shove. But yeah.
Cool. Well, for me, when you're not watching listen, we're gonna get 2 3-0 matches. It's gonna be really quick, so you'll have a lot of time to tune into Dual Land.
Don't say that. Wait. Okay, you say your plug. I'm sorry.
I'm kidding. You can give me shit for it, Raz. You should. I'm only continuing it based off of all the conversations we were having on the show where you're everything's been 3-0, 3-0, 3-0.
Sure, that's fair. I don't want to impose more 3-0s. We need to fucking have some competitive series. So help me, Shopify. If you get 3-0'd, I will be the one at the doorstep waiting for you to leave the facility with a belt.
Raz just threatened physical violence. Okay, so he means in game, like in Minecraft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that
just
before.
for clarification.
But, I only win the video games I play.
Yeah. Oh.
Not true.
All right. Anyway, when you're not watching the 5-game series, when you're after you've watched FlyQuest win on Sunday, tune into the FlyQuest stream. You can go find that over at flyquest.gg/duelland, and that's spelled with a DUEL land. And tune in to our event that we're going to be doing. It's going to be really fun. We have a whole bunch of really great people. In fact, right now I'm just going to name off the people that are participating. We've got Curious Joy and Rachel, Atrioc and Jimmy, Fobmaster and Joel are Magic, Jarvis Johnson and Olivia Gobert Hicks. Hey, it's Billy and the Asian Avenger, aka Krim, Broden and Talia, Ames, for those who watch Tarkov stuff, Voxy on the Magic side. And I'm just going to leak right now. I'm just going to fucking leak because, it's the end of the day. They're going to post it tomorrow. It's going to be a big reveal. Or just keep it between all of us. The final team that's getting announced tomorrow is LS and Raynad. So,
fun.
Yeah. So tune in this weekend. It's going to be really good. We'll be going for many, many hours. So I promise you there will be times for you to watch that are not during the LTA matches. So it's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping a ton of people. I was considering streaming on my channel. I probably won't because I feel like people will get bothered about that. But yeah, we'll be around. So thanks everybody for watching. This is Hotline League. We'll see you on Monday post finals to talk about who won. Could be anyone. Probably not Shopify. Bye.